Hello and welcome to the Recipes for Success podcast. I'm your host and the CEO here at Zupa, Ollie Brand. Now today on the podcast, we've got Chris Shelmerdine of The Coffee House. Now The Coffee House is a northern coffee operator. They've got 13 coffee shops in the north of England, and Chris co-founded The Coffee House with his brother Stephen, who he refers to as Steve throughout the interview, back in 2011, and he's since grown it to the level, and he's got big growth ambitions. But Chris and I have an amazing discussion around how to scale your business, the kind of struggles and the lessons that you learn on the journey, as well as the importance of your local coffee shop in the local community, which draws a lot of parallels to the wider hospitality sector. But, you know, we have an amazing discussion. I think I learned so much. I always do whenever I speak to Chris, and I hope you find it useful too. So sit back, relax, and enjoy. Chris, thank you so much for coming on to the podcast. Now, I'd love to kick it off by just getting a bit of a background on yourself, who you are, and your background in hospitality.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, look, thanks for having me down as well. I mean, it's been great to spend a bit of time with you yesterday and this morning. And my background is, as obviously you know, but you as well. I run a company called The Coffee House. So we're it's kind of a regional chain of coffee shops up in the northwest of England. We started off in a location in Lymm back in 2011, been going at this for 12 years. And in my very early days, so I'm like one of three. So there's my brother, who's also my business partner. I've got a younger sister. And we grew up in those early years as with a dad who owned a joinery manufacturing business. So we were always around this kind of enterprise from a really young age. I used to go in the summer holidays, and you can't do it anymore because I think it's probably illegal, but I used to be at the back of machines, which children shouldn't be at the back of machines, pulling out wood. But these are some of the foundations, in my opinion, that have made me into the kind of person that I am today, and given me some of the understanding. I'm really practical as a person. Like, I can pick things up and hammers and drills and screws and all sorts of things and get things done. So those early days and watching that kind of environment and learning that kind of environment were really powerful. And as the years went on, it's like I always knew that I wanted to do some form of business. And in the younger years, I never really knew what. Just I'd seen it. My dad always wanted me to be in his business, but we would have probably struggled to have worked together. He probably wouldn't mind me saying that too much. But yeah, we would definitely have struggled with that. And then ended up in business with my brother. And that was 12 years ago. So and 12 years has gone quick.
And what made you start a coffee shop? Why did you go down that route?
So the thing that I did from about 13 years old, I've had a job since as young as I could have one. And that started off with like a work experience placement when I was around about 12, 13. And they invited me back and they gave me a bit of a Saturday job. And I think it was paid like £2 or £3 an hour back then. It was nothing, but that wasn't what was important. And I did actually use that money. I saved every single week, and that became my insurance pot for my first car, which was a Renault 5 blue thing. It was amazing. I can never find a photo of it, but it was awesome. But yeah, so we sort of like, it started out what was the question again? Sorry.
What made you start the
coffee shop? Yeah. So it's like being around that kind of environment for 10 years of retail. I absolutely love retail. And I think I was saying to you last night, it's like when I come down, it's like going through some of the major retailers down here, like Harrods and the Selfridges. I just think it's beautiful. So I'm kind of in love with it. And then the thing was, I was seeing the damage that the online retail was doing to the high streets. So when I decided we were going to go for this and start some enterprise, it had to be something that you couldn't buy online. And I don't think you're ever going to be able to buy an experience like what we do or others do online. So yeah, that was it. Kind of low barrier to entry from a skill perspective. It's something we could learn, we could get better at. And we just cracked on. And I think it was about 18 months after going down this journey, that we had the plans. We managed to find a few £1,000 to be able to open something, and yeah, then away you go. The rest is then history from that perspective, anyway. So
yeah, definitely. And so, love to talk about it from an entrepreneurial perspective of the journey. So you opened that first coffee shop. The Coffee House was created in 2011.
Yes.
And then, what's that journey been like for you from that point?
It's been an absolute roller coaster, like in every which way. that you can possibly imagine, and it still is today. Like, and I think I said to you just yesterday, like, you can start a morning where everything's absolutely massive highs, and you can find yourself by the middle of the day where something's come in, some news, some problems, there's been some damage or a break-in or something's got, whatever it may be. And then by the end of the day, you could have had like a deal come off and you've got a new store opening like in 2 months' time. And so you have to get pretty good at just kind of rolling with these mixed emotions, like on a daily basis and a weekly basis and an annual basis. But I mean, I'm so thankful for the opportunity that I've had to do this so far. And I really do hope that it continues for a number of years to come, because each day that we do this, I learn more, Steve learns more, the company learns more, the team learns more. And I think that's, when you get to this stage now, that's what it starts to become. You're building a team. It's no longer a 2-man band or a 1-man band, or it becomes a team sport. And I think that's what I'm really enjoying right now, is building a bit of a team around us. We're 185 staff, it looks like. I was asked to increase the licenses on our scheduling platform yesterday up to 185, so that must be approximately where we're at. And yeah, how incredible, like, to have that many people that you're responsible for and working with. I think it's brilliant.
So you've just opened your 13th store.
Yes.
And what's the dynamic like where you have the regional coffee providers and the chains popping up around the place versus the kind of bigger nationwide chains? What's the dynamic like from a competitive perspective against them?
Yeah, I think that I think it's a really positive thing both for the consumer and also us as a business. I mean, I quite like trading against the bigger multinationals, and I think it's really good fun. And we watch what they're doing carefully, and we try and learn the very best about what they've done over the years. I think what the customer gets is there's no scenario where me and Steve will go and open a coffee shop, which we haven't seen the location and we haven't got a feel for the kind of people that we'd be serving there and the people that we may end up employing and working with. And I think that is the difference. There's no buying off plan right now in our business. Everything is actually, we've gone and personally gone and walked those high streets. We've decided genuinely which unit we felt was the one for us. And was this high street for us? Could we contribute to it in some way or form? And that is one of the things that I think is different when you're at this position as a company. You can make those decisions and see it as, do we bring something to this location? Are we enhancing it? Are we complementing the things that are already there, or is it something that we should maybe not do right now? So I think it's good. I think it's healthy. I think competition's healthy. It lifts the bar constantly, and maybe to a certain extent, when we come there as a strong independent, I'd hopefully like to think that we're also making those guys turn around and go, actually, we need to get quicker at clearing up our stores and keeping them clean and tidy, and maybe we shouldn't understaff them quite as extreme as we do, and things like that. Yeah, so I'm a big fan of the competition, and I think we have something different to offer to the larger multinationals. Yeah,
well, on that topic, I mean, how do you differentiate yourself and put yourself on the map?
Yeah,
such compelling offering already in the market. So
yeah, there's some really good stuff out there as well. It's like it's not that there's really bad options out there, and then there's companies that are coming along and just solving every problem that's existed for a long time. I think the thing is, we're called the Coffee House, as you know, and you've actually been around the back end of like actually how the business works behind the scenes. And really, we're more like the food house. We focus strongly on food. Like, so we've got significant central production facility where we not only make all the food. So if you just go into any of our stores and go and look at kind of the display fridges there, all of those lines, virtually bar anything, are made in house, unless we think it isn't right for us to take something on, potentially if there's like a gluten-free product, which could be risky or whatever. So we will potentially bring those in, but it's not just the food. We also then bake the bread for those products too. So it's like totally vertically integrated. And I think the motivation around this was, when you first start a kind of small operator, you can go and buy from anywhere and they can serve you. But then when you get to a stage where you're up to like where we are now, where we're 13 sites and serving, a reasonable chunk of customers, it's like there's some of those suppliers that are happy to work with us and enjoy working with us, but go, please, Chris, we can't bake this for you. It's too much for us now. So then we were presented with options like, okay, so we start buying something which is mass produced and maybe something which we're less of a fan of, compromise the product, or actually we probably need to bring this in-house if we want to maintain the quality and the consistency. And that's what that whole piece is about. We basically own the whole recipe from first grains of flour and salt and whatever, right up to the finished product that you see in the store. It's actually pretty pretty phenomenal the way it works. When I watch it now, it's pretty crazy that that's what we do.
Yeah.
3 a.m. every morning up until like nearly midnight the next day. A lot of time goes into it.
It's incredible. And I think that, and having that control on the quality and that as a sort of differentiation piece, or even saying differentiation, I mean, it's just a sheer focus on quality. And we say what we do well. And
that's true.
Yeah.
And I stole that from slightly, before we started the business, it's like, I was reading like other businesses' business plans.
Yeah.
And that was a line that actually Coca-Cola had in theirs, and I loved it. I was like, they said in their business plan back in 2010, what we do, we will do well. And then that just stuck with me. I'm like, yeah, absolutely. If we're not going to do it well, we just won't do it. Like, and it kind of came forward into our business plan a little bit, and it stuck with us all the way through. But yeah, I think that that's the main motivation around what we're doing there, is how do we keep the quality? And you're aware we obviously have our own sort of like supply chain comes in-house as well. So the motivation around that is, especially with inflation and the challenges that we've had in this last year, it's like, how can we make sure we can still buy the best ingredients that we possibly can to go in those products? So it's not only if we make a brownie that's homemade, it's also that we bought the very best chocolate we possibly could to go in the brownie. So by going directly working with like Barry Caliber and various other companies like that directly, it's like actually the quality stays there too. And we've got full control over whether or not we make those changes, and we can make them for the right reasons and not just on price.
Yeah.
Which I think is key. Absolutely.
That's an amazing thing. There's a couple of things you mentioned actually as we talked through those things. I want to just go back. So, I mean, I was, going to see the facility and seeing the back end of how the business operates.
Yeah.
I'd love to touch on the operating model for a second, just in terms of how you've made the central production warehouse work for you as a business and how that comes through, and, the benefits of, what that has delivered for you as a business, like what that's meant for you as a team, how you've kind of, and then bringing that quality. So being able to bring all the things in-house and vertically integrate your supply chain, talk through that central production kind of operating model.
The interesting thing, it's like if you said to me, I was saying this to someone only a few days ago that was asking a similar kind of question, like, if you'd said to me 5 years ago, right, money's no object, like go and design the CPU that you'd want to have, it's like it wouldn't be the version that we've got now. And what actually it is, it's like an accumulation of like little projects that have gone on for nearly several 8-9 years that have now manifested into this is the right model. So it's like all of it's kind of by accident over a number of years where we come, wow, this is how we're going to do it, and this is how we're going to put it together. So yeah, I think for the business, it's an absolutely phenomenal resource. We added a store to the operation like last week, and from a central perspective, we really didn't know it had happened. There's a new route on. We service our stores every single day ourselves, and there's a few reasons why we do that. It's like I'm an operator. I was serving customers and still do sometimes, like every single day of the week, and I could see all the issues with supply. Walking through the door at 11 o'clock in the morning, your milk's not there yet, and you've got dirty towels. Where do you get them washed? How do you get them cleaned and change? I've not got time to go out and get changed. So if you think about all these different things, we actually provide to our stores every morning pretty much a care package of all the things that you need to serve your customers for that day. And the motivation around that is that actually then they can focus on the right things, which is the customer and also their teammates. So it's like we try and tell our managers, like, we don't build stores with offices in the back of them. We purposely don't put them in because we want our store kind of leaders to be physically with their team and physically serving the customers and learning and finding out what's working and what's not working. So they have this amazing experience where they walk in the morning and there is their ambient food supply. There's their milk, which is already in the fridges for them. The freezer's full of whatever things they need there. The change has been changed over. The cash has been replaced. The tea towels are fresh and washed and clean. So for them, it's like, if it works correctly every time, which it doesn't always, it's like a great little service. And then from the back end, it means that any store that we actually open, it's a case of, right, this is the new location we're delivering to, set up some templates through Caterner. And yeah, away you go. You're good to go. Suddenly the orders are coming in, the production plans are being created. So in theory, the more it scales up, the more we will get stronger at doing this. Yeah, it means a lot right now.
Yeah, it's an incredible thing, and seeing it in practice is just amazing. Well, now, just you mentioned challenges, the challenges that you faced. what challenges have you seen?
So more recently, or do you mean sort of like, I mean, we had COVID, which we were all sick to the back teeth of hearing about. And I mean, for our business, that was a great period of like rationalization to a certain extent. And some of the things that we're working on now are thanks for the fact that we had a 3-month window where everything was closed down, ironically, where we could actually make some decisions about the business that we wanted to build for the future. And so many of those things, we've had conversations and you're seeing them come to fruition now. More recently, I mean, last year, I mean, labour shortages were really difficult for everyone. And we definitely weren't alone with that. And then inflation. I mean, inflation was brutal last year at various points, and it actually accelerated probably more of our development of that central production facility and actually taking our supply directly to distributors and manufacturers to try and remove some of those costs that were occurring in the middle of the supply chain. So they've been the worst. Now we're seeing that inflation is seemingly calming down, albeit price increases are still coming in, but at a slightly slower rate. And the challenges around recruitment are easing, but it doesn't feel the same. And I wouldn't be able to tell you what it is that feels different, but it doesn't quite feel the same just yet as what it maybe did do 2 or 3 years ago.
With the people aspect, how do you retain your great people? How do you keep the team motivated in the workforce of today? And, especially as sort of there's more generations in the workplace as well, from your perspective as a business leader, like how do you, what method or what kind of advice would you give people to other business leaders in terms of ways to retain great team?
I think recognizing as early on as possible, in your journey of running a company, that actually people are really critical. Like what we get done every single day is because of quite a large group of people now coming together and actually delivering constantly a set of processes, and then serving the customer at the end, and hopefully that they're really happy with what they've experienced and come back. So I think learning as fast as possible that actually people do matter. It is really important that you find ways to attract good people, that you're stimulating them in the long term, you're providing them with the opportunities and the training that are necessary, and then hopefully with a bit of a path to come further on the journey with you, which that is the best thing about a growing company. It's like, if you think back like 5 years ago, 6, 7 years ago, maybe, one of the things that made me the really sad was the fact that there just wasn't the opportunities in the company that existed for these people that were dying and crying out for more. And we just didn't have it. Whereas actually that tide is turning for us now with a company that's gaining more and more momentum. So now there's people that were chefs in the store in Lymm, and one of those guys now he's actually roasting our coffee because that's become available because the business is changing. And so I'm really proud that that's the direction that we're traveling. I'm hoping that it gets faster and faster. I mean, when you were over, you're aware that there's a second floor mezzanine in there, which we're building out. And we employ a lot of people quite a lot, both through new store openings and then naturally just as your retention. So as your staff kind of turn over from time to time. And my vision of this is like, okay, so you start with the company and there's certain core things that you need to learn at the store. But then after your first month or so of being there, you should be able to see what it is that we're doing centrally so that you can communicate that back to the customer and to the rest of the team and take part in it. But then for their own benefit, that they can actually see there's more to this than just the four walls of that coffee shop that you happen to be working in. So we're building a training site there where you'll come out and you'll get to have a tour around what we do. You'll learn more about the product. And that's where you'll be exposed to potentially your next opportunity. You might go, do you know what? I really want to go and take part in that central production piece. Or I'd love to learn to roast coffee. Or, I'd love to work in the marketing team upstairs with design. I don't know.
But educating on the bigger picture, seeing what actually happens across the wider business and then the importance of training.
Yeah, we're definitely at a stage, and it's only a new thing. Like what we're doing centrally, it's like it's a new project. It's only several months old, and we've actually only had the full central production kitchens there for about 8 weeks. So it's still a baby in the scheme of where it's heading. So we're not there yet with the communication piece, because I think if you were to ask virtually the majority of our team, like, okay, so what does it look like centrally? We just haven't got to that yet, where it's like we've been able to start filtering people through, certainly outside of the store management. And that's the next thing. So they're really on the journey. So they're really buying into it.
Yeah, and they're sort of bought into the vision and they can see it all happening.
And I think that was your question, really. It's like, what are you doing, or how do you see that kind of developing over time? And I think that is it. Is really getting people to come and see it and buy into it and love it. And if they do, then, well, okay, you know, how do we keep you on it for longer? You know, for as long as we possibly can, certainly. And that's a game changer. And we've got people that have been with us for 5-6 years now. Someone's been with us for nearly 10. So that's nearly the entire time that we've been doing this. That's family now. That's not, you know, that's not just someone who works for you. That's someone and that same person, I'll just tell you this story really quickly. We found out after COVID, they've been traveling around the stores, this individual, checking they were okay in the lockdowns. They were checking the stores were okay. And I found that out and I was like, really? They actually probably visited the stores more than I did.
That is incredible.
Yeah. And that's commitment, right?
Yeah. Well, that's a major advocate for the business and as a team.
Oh, wonderful. Definitely.
That is wonderful. I'd love to talk about, the community aspect in two ways, actually. One thing is like the community with competitors, you know, the other coffee shops. And I know you've spoken to me about this, where you've got other regional coffee providers and, you know, the whole thing around shared best practice.
Yeah.
And then I'd love to talk about communities in like the role that the coffee shop actually plays within the local community.
Yeah.
So we can start, it would be great to just go into some detail around the competitive aspect first.
Yeah. We have this really cool thing going on right now, which we're hoping is going to grow and people are going to engage with and really want to take part in it. And, you know, back when the challenges were really at their worst about 2 years back, and particularly around inflation, we had this WhatsApp group that just started to form. And that's all it was, just a WhatsApp group with 2 or 3 like-minded people that were running similar kind of operations. They're not all big. Some are bigger than we are, maybe 18, 20, 24 or so. And then there's others that have 2 or 3. And it's just a space where it's like, actually, we jump in there regularly. And like, obviously there's changes to sort of like wage rates right now. So typically you might see a message that just drops in there and goes, can I just see what everyone else is thinking about this? What kind of impact do you think that's going to have on your pricing? And it creates this safe space for people to explore some of the anxieties that are going on in their own minds around their businesses with other people that are actually struggling with it too. And outside, then what you get out of that is actually a little bit of guidance, maybe a slight bit of mentorship, ironically, from peers in the thing. I hosted like a couple of weeks back a group of those, and we've had some suppliers over, and it was a really great experience where they came to see like what we're doing, had a look around the production facilities and stuff like that. And we make an effort to see each other 3 or 4 months, and we're just trying to get as many people as possible to come on this group with us that have got like-minded kind of businesses and come and take part. Like, there's no harm. It doesn't all need to be cloaks and daggers and secrets. You know, you can openly share things for the benefit of everybody. Whilst running your own businesses. So no, that's good. It's good fun. And it's created a slight safety net for me personally, because there is a pool of people that I can just go and ask a question without being judged about the question I'm asking. And they're probably struggling with the same things. Yeah,
well, it's amazing, the collective intelligence that you get and the experiences that you share. And then you kind of carry that forwards and everyone's feeding it into their own businesses. It's a wonderful example of like healthy competition, I guess, or, you know, really kind of almost you are supporting each other. Yeah.
And it's quite an inclusive thing. So it's like I said about size, and it's not reserved for people that are just like got 15 shops or 20 shops or whatever. There's if I think back to like when I was 1 or 2 shops, it would have been wonderful to have had an opportunity to be in something like this with people who've gone down this path before, who could say, yeah, just be careful about that little minefield over there, because that one will catch you out if you're not careful. And there's a lady that's in this group, and she's going to be going to store number 3. And I think it's wonderful for her to have like a group of people who can go, that's amazing what you're doing. And by the way, have you thought about X, Y, and Z? Or she can come to us and go, have you come across this before, guys? Like, whatever it may be, a legal problem or a lease problem or a pricing problem or a supply problem, you name it. It's like, it's free for all. You just say what you're thinking.
Yeah. So, I mean, shout out to any folks listening to this podcast. Yeah, get in touch.
Yeah, there'll be 1,000 in there before we know it.
It's a great thing. Yeah, amazing. But, and then, if we could go to the other type of community. So the role of the actual coffee shop or coffee cafes, you know, the role they play within a local community.
It's massive. Which I think you probably already know and feel yourself. Like, and I think that, well, you know, the high street has been under a little bit of an attack for quite a long time, at least a decade or so, hasn't it? And I think one of the things that's going to prove resilient is the leisure piece and the hospitality, the service sector. And I think that is the future of the high streets. And I think that, if you were to look at like our group of stores and you were to check out some of those locations, there's nothing there which is like major city centre, like really glossy kind of names or anything like that. We try really hard to find communities which it genuinely makes a difference. And once you open somewhere which has maybe been underinvested in over a period of time, maybe doesn't have a great offer of kind of coffee shops or eateries or whatever, and then you get there and you give them something that's actually a good offer, that's well fitted out, it's got good products inside, a nice, well-trained team, suddenly this is a game changer for the community, and you become the community's coffee shop. You aren't the coffee house's coffee shop. I don't see it like that. Once they buy into it and that's theirs, they also protect it. They nurture it, they look after it, they support it, they look after the team in there. And that's evident across the vast majority of the stores. I can barely think of a store where people don't feel quite strongly that that's theirs, it belongs to them. So yeah, it's got a huge place to play and we need more of it. Just keep going. And it's the future of the high street,
Yeah.
It might bring the retailers back in the long term though, because if everyone's having all this fun on the high street in coffee shops and eateries and bowling alleys or whatever it may be, then suddenly the retailers might go, hang on a minute, that's where all the people are. Let's get back on the high street. Like, why aren't we in the middle of all this? Like, so yeah, it's interesting.
You told me a story which actually blew my mind about the importance of, like, for people as a sort of safe space and a trusted space.
Yeah. Oh no, yeah, definitely. And so one of the things that I found, and I have literally worked on the shop floors nearly the whole 12 years. I know how to do it all. I know how to make coffees and serve the food and everything. And you get to know quite intimately then all the customers because you're there every single day. And I didn't find this out directly from the customer. I found it out like a third party that they told their daughter. So this young girl, Phoebe, and it's seen her since birth. Like, I've got young children and it's like from birth, I saw this baby, then started feeding her tea cakes and then move on to bacon butties and all that kind of stuff. And then I found out that they told their daughter, if you're ever stuck in the village, go find Chris. You know where Chris is, go find him and he'll find us. And I was just like, the fact that people in the community then start to trust the business and the people inside that building will do the right thing, I think that starts to say, hopefully, a lot about the relationship they built with your company over the years. And it'd be nice to think that that's the feeling that's happening across all the locations that we operate, which obviously I'm not running them all. So it's like, it's the team inside that are building those relationships, but I really do believe they do that.
Yeah.
And I see some wonderful things. We have like a, Google chat for the whole company, and I could show you like the messages of photos of people's birthdays, 90 today, and sharing and staffing the pictures. And that's what it becomes, right? It becomes a place for lots of people to come together. And
yeah, it's incredible. I mean, that's a wonderful thing. Even for coffee shops, for hospitality in general, it's just, it's amazing. But that human connection is
massive,
incredible.
Yeah. And for me personally, to think that someone felt that I was that trustworthy, that their child could come and find me, that's really nice. Like, I should thank them someday for actually showing that level of trust, really.
Yeah, but that's a sort of indication of the value that you're bringing as well to the local community and the safe space. And looking at it more from a business perspective, then, like, as you've grown it, so you opened the first store, and then you opened the second store, you learned some lessons, and you went through that process.
Sure.
In terms of how you've navigated that, how important has mentorship been as a part of it?
So I'm really fortunate that we've had a number of. Do you mean this from sort of like towards me? So people providing sort of like support and mentorship towards me and the company?
Your journey and how you've kind of navigated through things. And for you, it's like learning the lesson, because obviously initially you came forwards with the passion of retail and then you got into doing you're like hospitality, coffee shops, and you started that and you were serving, and whenever we go anywhere, like when we went to your store, you're straight in there, picking up cups off the tables, clearing tables. It doesn't matter. That passion you can see. But then when it came to the actual growth aspect of growing a business and scaling a business and keeping that personality, I think I mean, that's a topic in its own right.
Yeah.
But then also, well, actually, yeah, let's get into that. Like the kind of how you've navigated that process, and also has mentorship been a big thing that's been involved with that to help you through that journey as you learn those lessons?
Yeah, so I'm really fortunate that the store that we have in Lymm, the very first one, there's a lot of people that we use in that store that have done similar paths with businesses, or so from nothing as well, started them and grown them into something that's a reasonable contributor to society or the community or whatever. And those individuals have been fundamental in being like mini cheerleaders. And they've come in some days and they've seen the blood, sweat and tears, like pretty much like it's really hard right now. And, and it could be operational, like literally on like day 25 because you've struggled and you can't get staff in the way you hoped or whatever it may be. And they kind of cheer you on. So from that, in that respect, it's like, I feel very fortunate that having these people that are saying, keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going. You will get to where you need to. You just have to believe it. Set the goal and you'll get there. But then along that journey as well, we ended up with four individuals that are kind of involved with us as a business. And they too, I mean, I spend quite a lot of time with one of those guys. And it makes a very big difference when you've got someone that you can speak to who will listen. And then the skill here is then that you're also then very good at listening back, because I know what I already think, but what you should be doing is you should be going, well, I'm more interested in hearing what he thinks, because that's the thing that I need to learn. So yeah, I've become better over the years at actually, because when you're 20, it's like you believe you're going to conquer the world anyway, don't you? It's like 17 with a car and it's like you're going to take over the world naturally because you can get around. And it's strange because it's only once you start getting into your late 20s and you mature a little bit and then you go, oh, actually, there's a lot of stuff here that I need to learn. And then once that clicks, then you start going, I'm going to listen. I'm going to find out more about what's in his brain or her brain because there's value there. So yeah, huge. Surround yourself with people that will support you, I think is massive, which we've been lucky to have.
Yeah, it's an incredible thing. And well, it's a really important thing. And that constant learning process is fundamental. You never have it right. You get it right, but it's like never resting.
You're never finished.
And you're never finished. And it's always going to constantly change and evolve. And you've got to constantly change your worldview.
All the time.
All the time.
And the world is changing all the time. I mean, so, recruiting people right now is a totally different beast to what it was 10 years ago. People's values have changed. Their expectations from the workplace have changed. And it's all well and good. You can't just sit there as an employer and just go, well, this isn't the way we used to do it. Well, you don't have that look. You have to buy into, okay, so this is where we're at right now and we need to plan for the way things are going to be in the future. So, yeah, it's majorly exciting, the journey that we've been on, and you do need to keep learning. And I think I'm in a personal place where I am keen for that as well, to keep learning, which is exciting.
Yeah, it's great. And I'd love to talk to you about sort of, where you've had, you've in the past, in growing your business, you've had investment or you've had involvement with investors. To a business that's starting out or trying to grow, what advice would you give them in terms of how they handle getting investment, external investment?
So we're really lucky that the individuals that we've been involved with are more like friendly supporters. I mean, there's different levels of kind of investment. So you've got things that might be considered a bit like angel investment, which is a group of individuals who are going to support you. And then you get kind of the venture capitalist stuff, which is, I've not had that kind of experience so far, and I'm aware of the kind of trials and tribulations that can come with that. I think with investment, I think you need to go as hard and as far as you possibly can before bringing anyone else in, where possible, because once you bring other influences in, that definitely changes the direction of your business. And you need to make sure that you are pointed enough in the right direction or in the direction you believe you should be before you have those other things that start pulling on your thoughts and ideas and time. So yeah, for anyone that is growing an enterprise that potentially will benefit from investment or should benefit from investment, it's like try and get as far as you can and maybe go past what you think the right pain threshold is. And maybe this is rubbish advice. I don't know. I'm just saying it from my experience. Like, don't get in there too premature. And be careful with the people you get as well, because you need the right investors. Like one of the things with us is it's like we're not focused on like things like dividends and stuff like that. Everything that we do and everything that we make at this stage goes back into growing the bigger picture. It's all about the bigger picture, the longer term goal. So if you end up with some investors which are, well, I'm going to put X in and I want to see an X amount of pounds out every month or every year for the next 5 years, that will stunt your growth. So we're really firm on it and everyone's on the same page. Like, no, this is that. Things like that can come. What can't come is actually being able to put the tools in, the resources, the training, the people, the facilities like what you've seen. Yeah, be careful.
Yeah, that is really good advice for anyone that's doing it, especially coming from someone who's gone through it and is experiencing it. Yeah,
and it's amazing actually when you sit down and start talking to people in these kind of conversations, you don't realize the things you've actually done until people say to you, and how was your experience with this? Because it's just a part of your life, isn't it?
Yeah.
So anyway, when people put it in front of you, and you go, yeah, actually we did do that and we've had good experiences, bad experiences. So it's interesting stuff.
Yeah, it's brilliant. Now, this is sort of a bit of an out there question, but where do you think the sector gets it completely wrong? Where do you think there's exposed, like whether it's people getting it wrong from a ethical or operational standpoint? It could be anything, but just where you feel like it's wrong.
It's like, I think it's hard to know what you don't really know, isn't it? Like in 2 years' time, it might be we're doing something slightly different as a sector or a community or even in our business, and then it's easy then to go retrospectively like, that was wrong. I think around the people and the recruitment, I think it isn't valued like as high as what it could be, and we were having this conversation, I think yesterday or this morning, and it's like when you think about the things that are close and dear to you in life, like as a person, if you just go like me personally or you personally right now, the things you look forward to doing are the things where you go out and eat and socialize, or you go on holiday and you have people look after you and give you a great experience. And actually, ironically, those things that we value so highly are some of the least rewarded. And I find that's a little bit of a strange thing, really. And it's the mechanics of it, and it's a difficult one to change. But yeah, don't you think that's a bit strange? Like the things that you hold dearest and the time and the experiences.
Well, you think as in terms of like, are you saying as hospitality and tourism and all of it as the service sectors are sort of neglected in the grand scheme of things, or saying the people are neglected in terms of it's not kind of remunerated, it's not valued
in the same
way that other sectors are.
Yeah, it does feel that way.
Yeah, I think I feel like that's an absolute 100%. Food and hospitality and services, at least in the UK, I feel certainly historically, I don't know if you feel this way, but like historically, it's been a secondary thing.
Yeah.
And we see it time and time again, even speaking to other people on this podcast, and they say the exact same thing where it's like, if you're not good in school or you're not doing this, or going to catering or going to food or going to this. And it's something that it definitely needs to be, I couldn't agree more in terms of it's wrong in the wider bigger picture of that.
Yeah, so I think that's somewhere that it could get better over time, like, and maybe it will as it develops and time passes by further. Maybe people's perception of this might change a little bit, and that's time will tell to a certain extent. So yeah, hopefully. I mean, I've been on the front line serving customers, and it's like, and I've certainly been treated badly before now. And that seems unfair because I've certainly always gone in with the very best intentions. Also being one of the owners, it's like I only want to provide the very best service. So when something goes wrong, you certainly want to feel like, oh, things happen. Like people don't respond to emails in the office or forget to answer the phone or whatever. But then when something goes wrong on a table, it's like pandemonium. Like, oh my God, the world's coming to an end. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I've been on the receiving end, and I hope that more people are fairer with that in the long term.
Yeah, definitely. That's a really good point. In terms of innovation that you're seeing in the sector, where have you got any views in terms of or ideas of what innovation do you think you'll start seeing come through?
It's always changing. I think one of the things that I'm not sure how it's going to pan out. I mean, we're all seeing like the chat kind of AI stuff that's going on right now, and there's been examples of like in our industry, like robots over in China and Japan and things like that, making coffee. for a long time. And that worries me a little bit, because I think we were talking about community before. And I think part of what these sectors bring is that human touch, really. So it's the thing that you might walk into a building and there's a little robot arm there that's going to serve you your coffee, and then you're going to tap your card and walk out, and that was the interaction you've managed to have this morning. Do you know how many people come into coffee shops because they're lonely and because they've maybe lost a partner or something like that, and you are their interaction today? And I've spoken to, I don't know, it could be 1 million people by now. I have no idea of the number, but a lot of people. And sometimes you're a lifeline, especially when they're struggling and they've got anxiety or depression or whatever's going on in their lives. And just to think that that's maybe the future. It can't be, surely, but we'll have to see.
Yeah, well, there'll definitely be applications for it. I think the thing is, it's like if that's the experience you're going for, if you're like, I need it quick, convenient, because the benefit of technology is it's there to automate the mundane tasks and to do those things, and people become more efficient in doing what they do as when working in hospitality because of it. But I believe that if you're going to a place that's got a robot server, it's because it's the experience that's being advertised, as opposed to, and you're going there for, it is a gimmick. It's sort of like not a gimmick, it's the specific experience that you're going for, as opposed to the human connection, which will never go in hospitality.
Yeah, you can't do, can it? But we'll see. I mean, maybe you'll set up like a coffee shop. That'd be an interesting operation to run, wouldn't it? Well, there's a coffee shop with human beings inside it. And by the way, next door, there's one which has just got robots. That one's probably going to be more efficient and quicker. But this one, you're going to actually get a hello, good morning, how are you, sir? And it'd be interesting to see what people prefer, or whether they do just want the efficiency, like self-service in a store. To be honest with you, I quite like using the self-service now because I'm quite quick at it. Even my daughter can do it. Yeah. So it is happening, isn't it?
That's an awesome idea, actually. You can definitely see a video popping up somewhere where they did a sample of this, two cafes next to each other, and sort of A/B testing, and amazing. That's such a good idea.
I'll be careful trying it myself, just in case I cause myself some problems. I'll let you know.
You brought it in. Okay. Well, now looking to you and your experience in hospitality, and this is sort of our 3 focus questions around you as a person, but as a customer, what do you feel like when you go out to any hospitality experience, what do you feel like they don't get right?
When you go out, I'm a really forgiving customer. When you've done it long enough, it's like I walk in a building, and I did this with my wife a couple of weeks ago, and it was we were in a pizza place. It was a Pizza Express, and they were clearly it was struggling, and I knew immediately just on the person that was, hi there, how are you today? Is it a table for 2 and a baby and a young child? And I'm like, yeah, and I could see the anxiety in their face. So clearly something was going wrong behind the scenes. So at that point, I'm already whatever happens. So I'm very forgiving, but I think that really remaining very focused on customer is absolute king, is essential. I think if we want this sector to really continue to be the best it possibly can be, customer is absolutely really important. Good quality product. I find that customers actually really value when something's good quality but fairly priced as much as possible at the same time. But yeah, I think I can't really how to add much more to it than that, to be honest with you, Ollie. I think that they're the things that I look for when I go out. Just a good experience, nice team, good quality products, fair price, and then you'll come back every single time. And just try and be sympathetic if you're there as a customer, and try and recognize some of the challenges that are going on.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Saying and sometimes places do get those things wrong, but that's that's great advice to say, just don't get these things wrong. No, definitely. And that is basically what we're, so our stores, it's when we build them, we try and build clean, well-maintained sites. It's we went through this stage as third wave coffee operators kind of came in, and it was all going quite kind of quirky and cool, and everything was breeze block walls, and we didn't put any floor in, and it was kind of all right that there was kind of copper piping hanging on the floor, and it was just retro, not even retro really, but quirky cool.
that isn't what the customer was looking for. Like, and that there, I think is a challenge. And also the other thing that you've got to think about when you're an operator, it's not just about the number of people that come to me and say they're going to start a coffee shop. And like they say, oh, it's all about the coffee. And I kind of worry for them instantly, because trading coffee shops or restaurants is about the entire experience. So that's kind of where I can go from that, actually. Like, so what you've got to look at is you have to have a nice, clean, tidy environment for the customer to come to. You have to have a decent product, like regardless of price. It still has to be a certain quality product. Then it has to be fairly priced. Then it has to be served well. It's like, if you get all of those components right, plus importantly, the right location for your business, you're probably going to do fine. It's like our second store, I think I've told you this story. We did our first store, then we're like, wow, we're going, let's go. Open second store. I'd love to know how many people get the second store wrong, because you have this false sense of confidence. And we put it in the wrong location on High Street. Now, we had the opportunity at 4 years, I think there must have been a break in the lease, to relocate that store. And we were kind of being encouraged, well, should we just close that store? And this was the people that we partnered with. They were like, let's not have the same mistake in the same location again. And Minster were like, no, there's nothing wrong with the wider location. We just got the wrong spot. So we went ahead and we did a deal that was further up the High Street, which happened to be next door to Cafe Nero. And we placed this store there 2 days after closing the previous one. It was the 26th of April. And it traded 3 times the revenue. Nothing had changed. Same business, same products, same people, a different fit out because we'd kind of done it all, but there was nothing wrong with the previous fit out. 40 meters. And then suddenly it went from a store that was a burden for us, or a pain in the backside, to what you consider a really good, successful operation. 40 meters. Amazing.
Importance of location.
Yeah, so I've not made that mistake since, but I don't want to speak too early, just in case. Like, yeah, but I think the one positive thing there was that because we'd made that so early in the journey, I'm glad it didn't happen at store 5 or 6 when you're getting a little bit too confident, and then you start making more bold decisions about the locations, the kind of rents, because that could be really a big burden for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah, but carrying those lessons forwards, and on that, I mean, with the experience you've got, if you were starting out again, so you're 12 years on, and you could speak to yourself, Chris, 12 years ago, and say, or even before then, and say, give one bit of advice to yourself, what would it be? Yeah, so I think I touched on something a little bit earlier, which was the importance of people. I think that knowing what I know now and understanding people far better now than I did then, because you can't know at the very early stages exactly how to deal with every situation. You make mistakes, you say things that you wish maybe you'd not said on reflection, or you approach situations in the wrong kind of way. So knowing those things will be really useful in the earlier days. But I think I said something to you similar to this before. It's like, I'm partly glad that you don't know the things, because it takes you on the journey. And to a certain extent, we wouldn't probably be sat here now if I knew some of the things that I know. And I don't mean that we wouldn't have the business. It would just have changed the direction of the business. And I might have done different things, made different relationships and whatever. So I'm thankful for the journey we're on, and we're still here and we're driving forward, and we've got expansion plans. So I'm thankful for it. And I've actually just enjoyed the learning experience. So I guess, is that advice, is that kind of like, just go with the flow? Go with it. Yeah, just roll with it and take the journey.
You don't know what you don't know, so just get on with it, and you'll learn quickly. Be prepared to learn, though. Definitely learn from the mistakes. It's like, it's no good being stubborn and going, well, the reasons for that were X, Y, and Z. It's nothing to do with us. If something's gone wrong, you have to really postmortem critically yourself and go like, what did we do wrong? Just assume there was something that we could have done better. And we are okay at that. We're quite good at, and we're getting better and better and better at saying, no, we didn't handle that right. So let's not do that again.
Yeah.
Rather than persevering with an idea that's wrong.
That's great advice. And then for you, what's next?
On a personal level or business level?
Maybe business.
So, on a personal level, I'm going through a different kind of journey personally now. So I think if you think about it, in the early days, you're a day-to-day operator. You're running stores, you physically boots on the ground all the time, and I thoroughly enjoy that. And I think that that's really important for people that are starting businesses, that you learn your operation. There's not a single place that I can't take you in our business, so I can't do that role. and that continues to be the place. It doesn't matter. So we roast coffee now. That's something we've done in the last 12 months. I learned that first alongside other people. So then I can support it and I can help people with it and I can train people on it. Same with the kitchens, the bakeries. I'm going to spend more time in the actual bread bakery side of things and actually really understand that process better myself. We do logistics on a nightly basis, as I mentioned before. So I went on and got a Class 2 driving license so that I can also drive the vehicles that we have and own. So, yeah, I think for me personally, the bit that I'm now starting to have to go through is I'm changing from that day-to-day operator to more of I'm here to provide the direction for the team. That isn't as easy as it looks. Learning how to communicate your thoughts, your ideas, and bring maybe 5-10 people that are working directly with you on that same path and to deliver at the same time everything that's needed to get those goals done. So having that ability to go, this is where I want to be in 5 years' time. This is what we need each department to sort of deliver to do that. And guys, have you got everything you need to be successful? So that's what I'm learning to do better now. And from a business perspective, it's hopefully we're going to grow. We're growing a lot this year. We're going from 12, 13 shops now. We were 12 at the start of the year, and we will get pretty close to past 20, 22 by no later than this time next year. That's going to be hard for the team. There's a lot of work to do there. A lot of work for me and Steve. So yeah, busy few years still ahead. Yeah, plans always get bigger. They never get smaller, do they?
No, I know. You just keep saying yourself. You get to the end of the year, you're like, what can I achieve next now? Yeah. Well, no, I think that's a perfect place to close. Chris, thank you so much for coming on. Really interesting. I think there's loads that people can learn from this discussion. So,
thank you. Grateful. No, I've really enjoyed it. Thanks very much for having me.
Well, there you have it. I hope you found my discussion with Chris as fascinating as I did. And a call to action to any coffee shop operators that are out there and listening to this. If you aren't already in touch with him, please reach out to me. Chris has said that he's very receptive and open to anyone reaching out who's a coffee operator and wants to be part, and heard about the WhatsApp groups and the various other means of collaboration that are going on within the sector. So please reach out. Otherwise, with regards to the podcast, if you've got any feedback, don't hesitate to get in touch with myself on that. But for the meantime, this is the Recipes for Success podcast. Thank you very much for listening.